Beyond Brazil's alluring football, sizzling dances, and breathtaking landscapes lies a strange side that gives many tourists pause. Beneath the surface beauty, this South American country has some bizarre laws and oddities that the faint-hearted would find hard to handle. Join us as we show you 12 prohibited and weird things in Brazil that are just plain strange. Number 12. Say no to the OK sign. The OK hand gesture, commonly used in American culture to signal that everything is all right, is actually highly offensive and even dangerous to use in Brazil. Flashing the OK sign, which involves making a circle with the thumb and index finger while extending the 3 middle fingers upwards, can elicit strong and aggressive reactions from Brazilians. Using this hand symbol is considered extremely vulgar and obscene in Brazil because it resembles the shape of male genitalia. Many Mediterranean and Latin American cultures, including Brazilian culture, interpret this hand gesture as a graphic and vulgar representation of the male genitalia. Presenting such an offensive hand sign to a Brazilian could be seen as a crude insult or provocation. Beyond vulgar associations, flashing the OK sign also suggests the individual is symbolically displaying devil horns, which carries an additional layer of taboo significance in Brazil. Extending only the pinky and index fingers to resemble horns is universally associated with heavy metal culture and the devil. However, for married Brazilians, a partner showcasing this devil horns gesture implies they have lost faith in their romance and seek to cheat, or that cheating has already occurred. Either way, the symbol insinuates profound relationship violations no spouse wants to broadcast through a casual hand sign. In fact, flashing the OK hand gesture has resulted in some unsuspecting visitors actually getting punched or beaten up after innocently trying to indicate that everything was fine by using it. There are multiple accounts of travelers naive to the taboo nature of this sign making the OK symbol, only to have nearby Brazilians become enraged, perceiving it as a deliberately vulgar insult. So if you are visiting Brazil or interacting with Brazilian people and wish to express that something is okay or all right, it is best to use an alternative like the thumbs up or just say that everything is fine. Using the circle made from the thumb and index finger risks conveying something extremely crude and offensive that could spark confrontation, rather than just harmless confirmation. The social meaning attached to hand gestures and body language often differs across cultures, so it is important to be aware of offensive signals to avoid creating unnecessary tension or fights. Number 11. Snake Island, deadly yet off limits. Off the coast of Brazil, about 90 miles away from São Paulo, lies Ilha da Queimada Grande, infamously known as Snake Island. This 110-acre island is populated by between 2,000 to 4,000 golden lancehead vipers, one of the deadliest species of snakes in the world. With around 1 to 5 of these venomous serpents occupying every square yard of land on the island, Snake Island has earned its sinister reputation as one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The golden lancehead viper's venom can quickly kill animals and humans alike. One bite from this aggressive pit viper contains enough toxins to kill over 20 humans in just a few hours. The hemotoxic venom destroys blood vessels and tissues, causes internal bleeding, and can lead to inevitable organ failure. Scientists estimate that the golden lancehead's lethal venom is up to 5 times more potent than that of any mainland rattlesnake species. Given how overrun Snake Island is by thousands of these deadly vipers and the lack of any hospitals or anti-venom supplies, the Brazilian government has prohibited any public visits to the nightmarish island. Only a few groups like the Brazilian Navy or authorized researchers are allowed access to Ilha da Queimada Grande to tend to the automated lighthouse or study the snakes. But venturing through the island's interior jungle environment puts even experienced herpetologists at immense risk. Over the past century, the only known inhabitants of Snake Island were a lighthouse keeper and his family before 1920. According to local legend, one night the snakes slithered into their home through openings and tragically killed the entire family. While that story may be more myth than fact, entering Snake Island unauthorized remains completely forbidden by the Brazilian government today due to the extreme danger it poses. With so many aggressive and lethal snakes packed into such a small area, this remote island only welcomes those with a death wish. Number 10. Prisoners shape up their sentences. Seeking solutions for severe overcrowding within deteriorating prisons, Brazil implemented inmate rehabilitation initiatives, enabling nonviolent offenders to substantially reduce jail sentences through reading and bicycling regimens, along with other various activities. Educational programs, such as redemption through reading, allow prisoners to shorten their sentences up to 48 days annually per book they read, and then discuss in written reviews presented before parole boards. Stationary bikes connected to generators additionally let inmates convert cycling miles into utility savings and future sentence reductions. By participating in sanctioned self-bettering activities demonstrating positive personal growth and model behavior, qualifying prisoners become eligible for incremental sentence decreases. Peaceful civic reintegration remains the ultimate objective according to program coordinators and sociologists. Cycling and reading serve therapeutic purposes as well, calming inmates' minds and tempering destructive behaviors that often erupt in volatile, crowded penitentiaries. Over 40% of Brazil's prison population failed to complete more than a middle school level education before initially entering incarceration. So for many detainees, prison reading and educational initiatives mark their first meaningful exposures to literature and similar intellectual stimuli, which can profoundly impact personal development. Allowing prisoners to exercise both their minds and bodies through reading, cycling, and other initiatives further grants inmates constructive escapes from bleak cells. They simultaneously address compound maintenance needs through human-generated electricity. These progressive programs align with Brazil's goal to redeem, not merely punish. Allowing non-violent lawbreakers opportunities to rediscover dormant talents and regain their sense of self-worth and discipline humanizes the typically dehumanizing experience of incarceration. Following the release, ex-convicts who participated tend to better recognize their latent talents and potential beyond past misguided lives of crime. While certainly unorthodox rehabilitation methods by global standards, reading and cycling programs facilitate the ultimate objectives to peacefully reintegrate upright citizens back into society. Number 9. Can't diss the food. Brazilian culture emphasizes showing appreciation and respect for all types of food. Unlike some other cultures where it may be more socially acceptable to visibly dislike certain dishes, Brazilians consider it extremely rude and offensive to insult or show disgust towards any foods, even bizarre or unappetizing items. Instead, Brazilians make every effort to honor the food they eat, no matter what it is. Locals consider food sacred, and even taboo behaviors exist around dining etiquette. For example, using one's hands to eat is typically only done with finger foods in Brazil. Most meals are eaten with utensils. Brazilians hold a fork in the left hand and a knife in the right when consuming more formal dishes. Casually handling food with dirty hands is viewed as unsanitary and can be seen as disrespecting the meal. Other bucked conventions like walking down the street while simultaneously eating snacks or ice cream are also frowned upon. Foreigners unfamiliar with customary Brazilian food manners are expected to display the same reverence at the table. Making gagging noises, negative facial expressions, or vocal criticisms when served unfamiliar fare is considered extremely impolite. Brazilians place a high value on generous hospitality, so visitors visibly insulting the food violates cultural standards of etiquette and gratefulness. If a certain taste or ingredient is new or challenging for you as a tourist, it is best to politely try small portions without making a dramatic spectacle over not enjoying it. Discreetly avoiding the problematic food is better than visibly offending your hosts. With Brazilian cuisine varying extensively by region, outsiders need to remain open-minded when encountering local specialties. Number 8. Showing off wealth can bring trouble. Brazil suffers from widespread income inequality, with the richest citizens living in luxury while nearly 10% of the population lives below the poverty line. High disparity combined with rampant government corruption and street gang activity contributes to Brazil having some of the highest crime rates in the world. Muggings, armed robberies, kidnappings and carjackings unfortunately occur somewhat regularly, especially targeting those who openly display affluence and material wealth. For this reason, conspicuously exhibiting expensive clothing, jewelry, electronics, or other valuables in public is considered risky and taboo behavior for both tourists and locals alike. Brazenly flaunting iPhones, Rolex watches, designer handbags, or similar upscale accessories essentially paints a target on oneself for criminals seeking to score a big payout. Even in safer, upscale neighborhoods in major cities like Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, flashing obvious signs of prosperity can attract unwanted attention and the threat of theft. Locals advise keeping visible valuables to a minimum whenever out and about. But since sleek modern gadgets like cell phones and digital cameras serve practical purposes for navigation, locals conceal them discreetly in pockets most of the time, instead of flaunting or leaving them out on restaurant tables, for example. By not carelessly advertising wealth via clothing and accessories in congested public areas, thieves have difficulty identifying naive, wealthy marks amidst the general populace going about their ordinary business. Exercising common sense precautions allows visitors and residents alike to continue largely unaffected by criminal elements targeting affluent outsiders, seen shamelessly flaunting expensive goods asking to be stolen. Just use street smarts and avoid danger zones whenever possible. Number 7, drinking solo, not allowed. Unlike Western cultures where casual social drinking signifies downtime escapism or flouting taboos, Brazil's traditional social frameworks revere consuming beer and liquor strictly within communal settings that cultivate interpersonal bonds. Solitary drinking elicits concerns over depression or addiction, while group drink festivities represent belonging. Brazilian cultural outlooks prioritizing fellowship above all intrinsically associate partaking in alcohol with uniting joyously to leisurely savor euphoric camaraderie. Imbibing alone contradicts sacred cultural values linked to generations via drinking's communal magic. Drinking with absent friends for chatter, laughter, or dancing seems profoundly lonesome. Locals uphold numerous traditional customs aligned with beer and liquor's community-enhancing roles too. During harvest festivals, homemade chicha beverages unavoidably include spit from villagers' collaborative chewing fermenting corn, manioc root, or other grains as a key step in recipes. Such customs embody connectedness. In day drinking settings, sharing large bottles is customary for facilitating interconnectedness. Patrons cluster together intimately while passing a singular 700-milliliter beer vessel between parties for small pours into tiny cups. This constrains individuals from isolating themselves greedily. Overall, Brazilian drinking culture nurtures social cohesion rather than insular escapism. Solitary intoxication contradicts the values of bonding through merrymaking. Locals strongly associate seeing someone drinking alone as signals of depression or dangerous addiction instead of harmless relaxation. Close-knit communities define Brazil's essence, where few seek drunken isolation if surrounded by vivacious people. When witnessing someone isolate themselves to privately consume liquor, interventions focus on uplifting them into friendly gatherings, creating support systems that eliminate rationales for alone, often starting with including them in uplifting group activities that alleviate tendencies towards depression. The joys found listening to samba beside feast tables always eclipse fleeting sorrows. In summary, Brazil's vibrant drinking customs emphasize communion above all. Whether merrily toasting new pals at carnival festivals or gathering old friends in quaint corner bars to unwind through playful banter, beverages bring Brazilians closer. Solitary intoxication contradicts values prioritizing fellowship and communal bonds. Lighthearted sociality earned through responsible group drinking far outweighs sullen inebriation. Number 6. Punctuality isn't a virtue. Here. Rigid timeliness and strict punctuality constitute core values underpinning social norms and commercial operations across numerous global cultures. However, within Brazil's borders, a far more lackadaisical approach towards scheduling expectations predominates daily affairs. Arriving slightly to extensively late rates is fully acceptable without the necessity for excuses. Known as keeping Brazilian time, The local cultural mindset embraces life at a less hurried pace compared to intensely punctuality prioritizing metropolitan hubs like Tokyo, New York, or London. Brazilians emphasize enjoying present moments rather than relentlessly rushing between plans. This live, slower philosophy condones tardiness. Lateness becomes especially prominent regarding social functions or gatherings among friends, family, and neighbors where formally commencing on time rarely occurs. Brazilians consider the agreed start hour as merely suggestive, not absolute. Showing up past the identified meeting time by as little as 15 minutes or as much as a few hours fails to rattle natives depending on the type or scale of the event. This starkly contrasts strict cultures demanding promptness. Prevalent guidelines across Brazil dictate the minimum arrival delay for small home gatherings should not exceed 30 minutes. Large parties with dozens of attendees commonly kick off between 55 to 90 minutes past designated beginnings. But contact hosts forewarning of extreme hour-plus delays risks testing generosity. Close acquaintances uphold looser standards since deeper intimacy pardons mildly inconvenient postponements. Brazilian normalization of being behind schedule traces back to prevailing easygoing principles valuing leisureliness. Locals interpret rigid time constraints as culturally sterile impositions, sabotaging hospitality's relaxed essence. When savoring conversation or activities with loved ones, strictly monitoring clocks seems boorishly dismissive. People matter over schedules. This ingrained group-oriented perspective inherently tolerates while friends meander in eventually. In addition, practical realities like urban congestion and public transit snarls contribute towards embedded tardiness too, especially across Brazil's densely populated cities. Navigating crowded highways riddled with impeding traffic predestines delays reaching destinations. Brazilians accept attempting punctuality amid such unreliable variables resembles pointless folly. Rather than stress lost minutes, embracing life's fluidity and inevitable detour offers richer mindsets. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Brazilian authorities enforce strict guidelines around public indecency offenses. However, certain designated zones permit nudity within reasonable parameters as acts of personal expression. Brazil officially recognizes 8 official nude beaches scattered along its extensive coastlines, where swimmers may elect shedding garments if properly confined to approved sands. Beyond government-decreed clothing exceptions, revealing swimwear leaves little physiques untouched by sunlight more broadly when beach-going nationwide. From single strings to minimal triangular bits, local fashion rejects inhibitions as community standards celebrate optimal tanning-wearing designs quite astonishing abroad. Tourists visiting Brazil's beaches often wear comparatively modest 1- or 2-piece swimsuits, while tiny local bikinis border invisible. The nation's best-known locale fostering naturalist recreation culture is Praia do Pinho, sanctioned clothing optional since 1981. This particular seaside stretch attracts frolicking masses who honor regional history's alternative traditions. Visitors note the atmosphere remains lighthearted and free of judgment between the nude locals and foreign spectators in cover-ups coexisting. Yet the nation's overall liberal displays of beach bodies equally apply to overweight and average shapes, expecting acceptance too in body-positive culture. With beach life representing inherent summertime rites of passage, visitors constantly migrate throughout Brazil's thousands of miles of picturesque shorelines, soaking in vitamin C, wearing whatever best permits unity between themselves and surrounding nature. What are your views on Brazilian culture? Let us know in the comments. Number 5. No advertisements allowed. The world's 4th most populous metropolis, São Paulo, Brazil, removed 15,000 billboards and outdoor advertising displays from Brazil's largest city overnight back in 2006. Then Mayor Gilberto Kassab enacted the controversial Clean City Law, prohibiting all forms of public commercial advertising like transit posters and storefront banners across the massive municipality spanning over 588 square miles. Critics initially predicted the advertising ban would devastate São Paulo's economy and identity. Removing all unsightly promotional signage, sought to declutter views and improve urban aesthetic appeal according to clean city law advocates. But considerably improving visual pollution and walkability came at the expense of guaranteed municipal funding streams and private sector media jobs. Over 15,000 billboards had dominated São Paulo's landscape before the legislation's implementation. Early economic warnings estimated approximately 20,000 São Paulo citizens working in relevant industries would lose jobs from an advertising ban, while the city forfeited nearly 150 million in annual advertising tax revenue. But by 2011, when surveyors assessed public response to the ad ban 5 years later, over 70% of São Paulo's inhabitants favored the noticeable visibility upgrades despite financial uncertainties during rollout. Residents noted feeling pleased by their city's dramatically cleaner vistas and breezier sensation without constant exposure to bombarding ads removal from congested public areas. So, in the end, São Paulo's gamble to transform into an ad-free utopia won over the majority of its inhabitants, though regulators continue monitoring economic impacts closely. Embracing aesthetics and walkability over commercialism yielded a more pleasant urban environment overall, according to most locals. Number 4. Music and dance are Brazil's pride. Music and dance play vital roles in Brazilian life, enriching national identity and facilitating cultural expression. Various rhythmic art forms like samba, forró, frevo, and bossa nova music genres uniquely evolved across Brazil, fusing indigenous, African, and European influences into quintessentially Brazilian styles. These joyful songs and rhythms ignite celebrations, connecting citizens through jubilant dancing that permeates everyday life. Samba music's birth during the early 20th century epitomizes Brazil's propensity to harmonize diverse heritages into singular cultural blends. The catchy syncopations combine classical European composition techniques with West African drum rhythms and lyrical themes from Afro-Brazilian religious traditions. This coalescence of sacred and secular, refined and primitive inputs spawned the beloved national emblem samba represents today. Its fast-paced tempo and melodic hooks make samba music infectious on dance floors. The history of samba intertwines with Brazil's complex multicultural fabric. Enslaved Africans transported to Brazil beginning in the 1500s brought with them myriad musical and dance traditions that would lay samba's foundations. Their homeland drumming and choral styles resonated most vibrantly during celebrations. Fusing these jubilant performance arts with their forced European acculturation birthed distinctly Brazilian hybrid forms like samba. Today, equal levels of European orchestral influences shape the samba's sound. The steady 4x4 time signature marching tempo popularized by military bands permeates the bouncy rhythms. This marriage between regimented beats with improvised African and indigenous percussion patterns colors samba's hypnotic power. Adding distinctly Brazilian instruments like the cavaquinho string instrument further flavors the national style. Equally energetic northeastern Brazilian forró music inspires couples whirling in close embraces across dance venues nationwide. Lively forró bands jam on button accordions, metal triangles, and Zumba drums, while vocalists sing of idealized rural life in Brazil's countryside. These rollicking rhythms keep revelers' feet tapping non-stop. In the southern city of Florianopolis, locals celebrate summer carnival practicing fighter-like moves and dancing to frevo's brassy marches. And bossa nova's gentle guitar strums and mellow drum beats form the soundtrack to blissful beach-going. Beyond entertainment, music and dance enable Brazilians to honor regional traditions, fortify community bonds, and articulate nostalgia for simpler eras before Brazil's rapid development. Locals proudly don apparel showcasing team colors while practicing choreographed samba group routines for months leading up to Carnival. Public street parades and private samba school rehearsal spaces fill with joyful musical expressions of Brazilian identity. Given artistic inclinations, centrality to social cohesion and cultural pride, maintaining Brazil's rich diversity of rhythms and moves remains imperative. Number 3. Toilet paper goes in special bins only. When you first visit the toilet after arriving in Brazil, you'll discover a little cultural quirk. There are small waste bins inside the stalls next to the toilets. It turns out Brazil's old sewers and tiny pipes make flushing toilet paper a plumbing disaster across many areas. Without modern upgrades, tissues tossed down the toilet turn into clogs and backups. So bathrooms come equipped with tiny trash cans for your used toilet paper. It's the norm there. Dropping paper neatly into the bin rather than the bowl avoids expensive backups and repairs down the line. Once you get over the initial surprise, it's no big deal. But for first-timers, this new twist stands out. Flushing toilet paper where inadequate plumbing exists risks serious clogging and sanitation issues. Brazil's largest city, São Paulo, grappled with constant drainage blockages from residents or hotels, flushing paper products until authorities mandated trash-only disposal. Other urban centers share similar past troubles. Though modern hotels and high-rise condominiums typically boast sufficiently powerful plumbing to allow flushing toilet tissue, problems arise in older neighborhoods with antiquated pipe diameters too narrow to accommodate paper. Beyond infrastructure shortcomings, Brazilians view discarding used toilet paper into bathroom trash bins as a practical hygienic solution. Soiled tissue placed immediately into aligned receptacles prevents undesirable odors or staining around toilets, awaiting later plumbing repairs. This method contains messes better, especially in heavily trafficked lavatories. While first-time visitors may naturally feel surprised seeing heaped toilet paper inside strange bins, following suit avoids unclogging unpleasant backups. Critics argue landfill toxicities and lurking germs using piles of restroom waste paper warrant ending the practice. But until Brazil's wastewater systems see significant upgrades, trash bins unfortunately remain the norm. As an environmentally conscious workaround, installing small lidded receptacles with biodegradable bags lets restrooms accommodate visitor paper requirements without clogging aging sewer lines. So for homes and businesses endowed with outdated drainage blueprints beneath floors, discarding soiled toilet paper into small lidded waste bins positioned nearby represents simple proactive solutions, averting eventual disasters. By responsibly placing used paper goods out of reach from narrow pipes designed long before mass paper production, clogs halting neighborhoods sidestep easy prevention. The protocol extends across Brazilian society regardless of affluence level or background. For ordinary families in lower-income favela communities to upscale shopping malls with imported European luxury boutiques, all bathroom occupants must forego flushes in favor of the ubiquitous tissue trash bins, symbols denoting toilet paper prohibition, further broadcast a crucial reminder never to send paper down. While perhaps off-putting for foreign guests at first, embracing best practices prevents extensive harm. Number 2. Land of the Women. Nestled amidst the rural hills of southeastern Brazil, approximately 90 miles from the capital of Minas Gerais state, lies the tiny settlement of Noiva do Cordeiro. Boasting a population barely exceeding 600 residents, this remote agricultural village stands out as one of the only inhabited places on Earth, featuring 10 times more women than men, with over 90% of locals being female. Locals embrace their town's global notoriety and often jokingly refer to Noiva do Cordeiro as the town of single women, or no husbands allowed. Given Brazilian culture's strong family values emphasizing marriage and motherhood, the extreme gender imbalance plagued generations of women raised there dreaming of soulmates yet surrounded solely by fellow single ladies. Out of the town's 600 female occupants, around 300 falls between 16 to 60 years old with prime reproductive age, yet no male prospects. Most males evacuate Noiva do Cordeiro permanently soon after their 18th birthday to seek financial opportunities in Brazil's expanding industrial cities. Regrettably, few of those leaving ever return, aside from occasional weekend visits to see elderly parents who remain on family farms. This dilemma of Noiva do Cordeiro's missing men emerged over a century prior during the early 1990s, when extended droughts and blight decimated regional agriculture. In hopes of lifting their households from ruin, impoverished farming fathers sent away their eldest sons to send back paychecks until the rains returned. But even after fortunes improved, few sons returned to stay. Time passed, and a strong attachment to urban livelihoods that allowed supporting families from afar supplanted generations of men's connections to their pastoral origins. leaving endless single women anxiously awaiting suitors in Nueva do Cordeiro who never arrived. Eventually, by the 1990s, the painfully obvious dilemma of a village with scores of marriage-aged yet husbandless women reached national media. Nueva do Cordeiro gained fame as the renowned location to find love in Brazil, observing elderly town matriarchs navigating daily tasks alone while daughters and granddaughters faced empty beds each night, highlighted the town's need for vigilant workers, protective fathers, and tender husbands. Several bachelors heeded callings to visit Nueva do Cordeiro in search of lifelong partners. However, relatively few remained longer than initially planned after meeting locals. Some newcomers struggled to grow accustomed to the isolated village's scant opportunities and provincial customs after materializing from bustling modern cities. Meanwhile, some hopeful wives learned of visiting men's existing families and felt reluctant to uproot children from known schools or urban comforts. Number 1. Swimming with exotic creatures. Brazil's abundant wilderness provides rich ecosystems where humans coexist closely with exotic untamed fauna in various regions. From alligators lurking in wetland preserves like the Pantanal to razor-toothed piranhas occupying the winding Amazon River, visitors flock to observe Brazil's formidable creatures up close and even swim amongst them under monitored conditions. Responsible interactions with formidable reptiles and ferocious fish offer bucket list thrills for adventurers. Proper environmental tourism allows conscientious income supporting conservation work too. Calmly drifting down Amazonian tributaries teeming with piranha schools invites adrenaline rushes without high risks. Reputable local guides share an insider understanding of animal behaviors, avoiding unnecessary bites or injuries. With proper precautions like avoiding pollutants masking human scents and preventing aggressive defensive responses, balanced ecotourism thrives. Capybara and caiman sightings further heighten Amazonian river magic. At expansive wetland wildlife preserves, accompanying conservationists paddle dugout canoes atop domains of the yellow anaconda and 600-pound Pantanal caiman crocodilians for breathtaking up-close animal encounters. Knowledgeable personnel select locations with probable alligator activity and then allow visitors to cautiously slip into protected waters surrounded by these apex ambush predators. Only rarely do territorial or nesting individuals attack unprovoked. Their intimidating sizes and dinosaur aura imprint incredible memories under experts' watchful eyes. Here too does myth betray reality. Healthy piranhas primarily restrict meat eating to expired river prey. Yet through moving minimally without oils or chemicals masking natural human scents, exhilarated observers can float eye level through these hypnotic legions, mostly indifferent to alien apparitions in their terrestrial realm. Survival of delicate ecological balance rests upon respect above all else. With acute attention towards managing safety, Brazilian conservation territories now facilitate deeply meaningful person-to-person diplomacy opportunities between humankind and fellow powerful beings inhabiting our shared global habitats. Blending disciplined precaution with infectious curiosity opens doorways of discovery locked from those unwilling to engage in the self-discovery required for opening minds' judgments might otherwise keep closed. Returning the Amazon and Pantanal's hospitality stewards proper due protects magnificent sanctuaries flourishing life deserves. Responsible wildlife tourism generates income directly supporting environmental research and anti-poaching patrols too. By responsibly swimming with piranhas or gliding over caimans within sustainable capacities, intimate wildlife interactions empower preservation work long-term in delicate habitats. Controlled predator and water experiences ranked Brazil's top premier bucket list thrills for animal lovers. One-of-a-kind adventures facilitate deep connections, awakening visitors' environmental ethics and marveling in balance with nature. If global visitors periodically get wet with ferocious creatures, they help guard Edenic sanctuaries benefiting all species. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.